In 1910, a man who had spent his entire life broke sat down and wrote a book. No publisher believed in him. No audience was waiting. He had no credibility, no platform, no proof that anything he was about to write was even true. He just had one question that had consumed him for decades. Why do some people get rich and others, no matter how hard they grind? Never do. His name was Wallace D. Wattles, and the book he wrote was called The Science of Getting Rich. Most people laughed at it. Critics called it fantasy, wishful thinking dressed in scientific language. But in 2026, neuroscientists are scanning human brains and finding the same answers Wattles wrote by hand 115 years ago, and what they found changes everything. In this video, I am giving you the 21-day challenge, built on Wattles' original principles, upgraded with everything modern brain science has uncovered since. Not to inspire you, not to motivate you for 48 hours to permanently rewire you. Here is the thing nobody told you about money. It is not about how hard you work. It is not about your degree, your city, your background, your connections, or your luck. It is about what your brain has been programmed to see. There is a structure inside your brainstem called the Reticular Activating System. The RAS, think of it as your brain's filter, a search engine running 24 hours a day, constantly scanning your environment for things that match what you have programmed it to look for. Here is the problem. Most people have spent their entire lives programming their RAS on scarcity. Every time you said, "I cannot afford that," you updated the filter every time you thought money is hard to make. You updated the filter every time you watched someone else succeed and told yourself they were lucky or connected or born into the right family. You updated the filter, and your filter believed every word, so your brain, the most sophisticated pattern recognition machine ever built, started scanning the world and missing every opportunity that did not match your scarcity program. The wealthy person and the broke person can walk into the same room, have the same conversation, read the same book, and the wealthy person walks away with 3 ideas, 2 connections, and a plan. The broke person walks away having noticed nothing. Same room, same information, different filter. That is what Wattles called the difference between competitive thinking and creative thinking. Competitive thinkers believe wealth is finite. Someone has to lose for them to win, so they spend their lives fighting for scraps of a pie. They convince themselves it's shrinking. Creative thinkers believe the supply of wealth is infinite, and that their job is not to take from what already exists, but to create new value that did not exist before. 2 beliefs, 2 completely different brains, 2 completely different lives. Now let me show you what is actually happening inside your skull. In 2010, researchers at University College London conducted one of the most important habit studies ever published. They tracked 96 people for 12 weeks, measuring how long it actually took to form a new habit. What they found destroyed the most repeated myth in personal development. It does not take 21 days to form a habit. The real average is 66 days. Some habits took 18 days, others took 254. The timeline depends on 3 things: the depth of the existing circuit, the emotional charge of the new practice, and how precisely the behavior targets the specific neural pathway you are trying to change. But here is what the research also confirmed. And this is the piece that changes everything. Emotional activation is the single most powerful accelerator of neural change. Circuits trained under emotional arousal, meaning when you genuinely feel what you are doing, rewire faster, deeper, and more permanently than circuits trained in a neutral, emotional state. This is backed by research on norepinephrine and dopamine, 2 neurochemicals elevated during emotional states that act as direct catalysts for synaptic consolidation. They literally tell the brain this matters. Remember this change for this. This is why Wattles was not just telling you to think about money, he was telling you to feel it, to see your wealthy life in vivid detail, with the full emotional conviction of someone who already lives it. Because emotion is not decoration. Emotion is the delivery mechanism for neuroplasticity. And now the dopamine truth. Most people believe dopamine fires when you achieve something. When you close the deal, when the money hits, when the goal is reached. That is not how it works. Dopamine, your brain's primary motivational signal, fires in anticipation of progress. Research in Neurofinance published in 2025 shows that the brain's reward system responds to forward movement, not arrival to the next step, not the destination. This is why logging your daily wins matters. Not as a gratitude practice, not as self-congratulation, but as a dopamine consolidation protocol. When you write 3 wins every evening, however small, you are training your brain's reward system to fire on daily action. And when dopamine fires on action, action becomes automatic. That is the mechanism. That is the loop. That is the science of getting rich. Let me decode the core principles from the science of getting rich. In plain language for 2026, Principle 1, thinking stuff, Wattles wrote that there is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and that a thought impressed upon this substance produces the thing imagined by the thought. 2026 translation, your thoughts prime your RAS. What you focus on repeatedly becomes what your brain filters for. What your brain filters for, you notice what you notice. You act on what you act on, you build. The wealth cycle does not start at action, it starts at thought. Principle 2, creative versus competitive. Wattles said, get rid of the thought of competition. You are to create, not to compete for what is already created. 2026 translation, when your brain is in scarcity mode, it fires cortisol, the stress hormone. And here is what cortisol does to your wealth potential. It suppresses the prefrontal cortex, your executive decision-making center, and activates the amygdala, your threat response system. Research from the University of California confirms that chronic cortisol exposure reduces dendritic branching in the prefrontal cortex by up to 20%. In plain language, if you are constantly stressed about money, you are biologically primed to make worse financial decisions. No amount of strategy can outpace a cortisol-driven brain. The antidote is not relaxation. It is identity. Principle 3, the impression of increase, Wattles said, convey the impression of advancement with everything you do. 2026 translation, identity precedes behavior. Tom Corley spent 5 years studying 233 millionaires, 177 of them self-made. His finding was that they did not just do wealthy things. They were wealthy people first in their posture, their decisions, their daily habits, and their self-concept. The behavior followed the identity, not the other way around. Principle 4. Gratitude is a neural force. Writing 3 wins per day is a dopamine loop builder. It trains your brain's reward system to fire on daily progress. What you track, your brain reinforces. What it reinforces, it repeats. What it repeats, it automates. These are not ancient ideas that aged poorly. These are operating instructions for your brain, written before we had the technology to prove them. Now I am going to give you the exact protocol. Not vague advice, not a mindset tip. A precise neuroscience-backed daily practice that takes 7 minutes. Step 1. Morning, 2 minutes before you check your phone. Before you open any app or scroll any feed. Write your wealth goal as a specific number with a specific date. Not I want to make more money. $5,000 per month by October the 31st, 2026. The specificity is not cosmetic. It is functional. Vague goals produce vague RAS filters. A target with a number and a date gives your brain's search engine a precise frequency to lock onto. It starts filtering your entire day for signals, people and opportunities that match that exact target. Do this before the world gets access to your attention. Step 2, midday, 3 minutes. Stop what you are doing, close your eyes. Picture the outcome you wrote down this morning. Do not just see it, feel it. See the paid invoice on your screen. Feel the relief of the booked client. See the number in your account. Feel the calm, confidence of someone who has already built what they declared. This is prefrontal cortex activation. Neurological studies confirm that vivid, emotional visualization primes the same behavioral circuits as actual. Lived experience. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined scene and a real one when emotion is present. Use that. Step 3, evening, 2 minutes before you sleep. Write 3 wins from today. Your goal was written this morning. When you made a call you had been avoiding. When you read 1 chapter, win. This is not journaling. This is a dopamine consolidation practice. You are training your brain's reward system to fire on daily action, not on an outcome that may be weeks or months away. Log the progress, build the loop, stack the evidence. Now, let me walk you through what happens inside your brain across 21 days. Days 1 through 3. Research shows that during the first 72 hours of any behavioral change, your brain experiences a cortisol spike. As it pushes against established neural pathways, you will feel resistance. You might feel like it is not working. 62% of all transformation attempts fail in this window because people misinterpret necessary. Neurological resistance as a sign. They should stop. It is not a sign to stop. It is biological evidence that change has begun. Days 4 through 7, your RAS begins to recalibrate. You start noticing things you missed before conversations. Ideas, opportunities aligned with your stated target. Do not dismiss this. It is your filter upgrading in real time. Days 8 through 10, the hardest stretch. Motivation fades completely. The practice feels like effort. Nothing visible has changed. Do not quit here. This is where neural infrastructure is being forged. Beneath the surface, the discomfort is the construction. Days 11 through 14, the identity shift happens. You stop acting like someone trying to get rich and start being someone who builds wealth. The behavior changes automatically. Your decisions reflect a different self-concept. Days 15 through 18, momentum locks. The protocol is natural actions compound. The amygdala's resistance weakens. The prefrontal cortex leads, things start to move. Days 19 through 21, new baseline studies show 21 consecutive days of repetition begins. Measurable structural changes in neural pathways. The old scarcity program does not disappear, but it loses its grip as the new pattern gains dominance. Wattles called this thinking in a certain way. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity. Both are exactly right. Let me be direct with you about something uncomfortable. Most people who watch this video will not do the challenge. Not because they do not believe the science, not because they do not want the result, but because of one force identified by Wattles in 1910 and confirmed by behavioral neuroscience in 2024 that is more powerful than motivation, more persistent than discipline, and more invisible than any distraction: the identity thermostat. Here is how it works. Your brain holds a precise model of who you are, a self-image built over years. From your family's relationship with money, from every time you succeeded or failed, from every message you absorbed about what people like you are supposed to have. And this self-image has a set point like a thermostat on a wall. It is calibrated to a specific temperature. When you begin to build wealth, when momentum starts, when something breaks through, your brain detects that you are moving away from the set point, and it brings you back. You get a pay increase and immediately find ways to expand your expenses to match. You build momentum in a new business and suddenly self-sabotage 3 days before the breakthrough. You start a new habit, and after a week, you find an excuse so rational it almost sounds like wisdom. This is not weakness. This is not lack of character. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect the familiar. Research published in 2024 demonstrated that chronic scarcity framing suppresses prefrontal regulatory activity, narrowing your attentional bandwidth, and reinforcing threat-based reward processing. In plain language, if your self-image says you are someone who struggles with money, your brain will actively work to confirm that story. The only way to override the thermostat is to change the setting, not through force, not through willpower, but through repeated emotionally charged exposure to the identity of the person you are becoming, until the new identity becomes the new set point. That is the morning goal, that is the midday visualization, that is the evening win log. Not 3 separate practices. One system designed to reset the thermostat. Wattles wrote, "The riches you receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of your vision, the fixity of your purpose, the steadiness of your faith, and the depth of your gratitude." Not poetry, a neuroscience protocol written by a man who had no scanner. Only truth. Let me give you the numbers. Tom Corley, CPA, certified financial planner, author of Rich Habits. He spent 5 years studying 233 wealthy people, 177 of them self-made millionaires, alongside 128 people living in poverty. What he was looking for was not strategy, not investment knowledge, not industry secrets. He was looking for daily behavior. Here is what he found. 88% of wealthy individuals read for at least 30 minutes every day. Not fiction, not news. Self-improvement, business strategy, biography, books about people who built what they wanted to build. Only 2% of poor participants did the same. 76% of wealthy individuals exercised before their workday began, not for aesthetics, for the neurochemical state that makes clear thinking, sharp decisions, and emotional regulation possible, for the dopamine, serotonin, and brain-derived neurotrophic factor that physical movement releases into the prefrontal cortex. 44% of millionaires woke at least 3 hours before their workday started to claim uninterrupted deep work. Before the world demanded their attention, to build in silence before the noise arrived. And here is the number that hits hardest. 88% of the wealthy in Corley's study rose early every day. Only 2% of those living in poverty did the same. Not 30%, not 50%. 2, this is not about privilege. This is not about luck or timing or who your parents were. This is the compounding effect of daily habits operating over years. Millionaires of 2026 are not more talented than you. They did not receive better opportunities. In fact, many of the self-made millionaires in Corley's study started with less than you have right now. But they were consistent when everyone else was waiting. They stacked small wins when everyone else was looking for a big break. They operated from creative thinking while everyone else was competing. Wallace wrote in 1910 that, "No man is kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from him." In 2026, that is more true than it has ever been. Opportunity is not the limiting factor. The filter through which you see opportunity is. Before I close, I need to tell you something I wish someone had told me. Day 21 is not the finish line. Research shows that 21 consecutive days of consistent repetition begins structural changes in the brain. But permanent neural pathways, the kind that become identity, take closer to 63 days to solidify. So when you reach day 21 and something has clearly shifted inside you, do not stop. The goal of this 21-day challenge is not to arrive somewhere. The goal is to prove to your brain that you are someone who does not quit. Because the moment your brain updates that belief, the moment it knows, you are the kind of person who shows up every single day, who writes the goal, who does the visualization, who logs the wins regardless of whether results are visible, everything changes, your ROS recalibrates completely. Your identity thermostat resets to a new set point. Your dopamine system starts firing on the daily practice as a reward in itself. And the wealthy version of you stops being a vision. It becomes the default. Let me bring this all the way home. In 1910, a broke man wrote a truth he had no scientific equipment to prove. He wrote that a person's right to life means their right to have the free and unrestricted use of all the things necessary to their fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfolding. In other words, you have a right to be rich, not just financially rich in clarity, rich in energy, rich in purpose, rich in the capacity to build something that outlasts you. But that richness does not come from wishing. It does not come from watching videos. It does not come from inspiration that fades by Monday morning. It comes from rewiring. It comes from doing 3 things every single morning, every single midday, every single evening for 21 days, until the wealthy version of you stops being a goal and starts being who you are. So here is your challenge. Not next week, not when you feel ready. Tomorrow morning before you touch your phone. Write your wealth goal as a number and a date. Then close your eyes at midday and feel yourself already there. Then before you sleep, write 3 wins. Any 3, do that for 21 days. Do not do it because I told you to do it. Because somewhere inside you, beneath all the doubt, beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the years of being told, what people like you are supposed to have. You already know what you are capable of. This video is your signal. Drop a fire in the comments if you are starting tomorrow. I want to see how many of us are doing this together. Subscribe, hit the bell. Next week we go even deeper from zero to possible. Let's go.